Hello, Food World. Today, we're going to look at one of the things that every good cook needs to know how to cook, and that's scrambling an egg. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of it, so to speak, I want to touch on a couple of things as far as the freshness of the egg. When you see an egg carton, on the end, you'll see a 3-digit code in numbers. These numbers are what's called a Julian date. They start with January 1st and go consecutively. So the 3-digit number you see on the end of the egg carton tells you the day of the year those eggs were packaged. Once you know the day of the year the eggs were packaged, you can add 4 to 5 weeks to that date and know how long those eggs can be expected to be good. Now, of course, you also have the more commonly used best by date. Now, a common misconception is the eggs past this date, they are expired. That's not true. They pass a point where they're at their best quality, but they will be good in most cases beyond that best by date. Another thing you can do, push comes to shove, is take a simple clean glass of water. And you take your egg and drop the egg into the glass of water. If the egg, like this one, falls to the bottom, then your egg is good. And it is safe to eat. Now I want to get more completely into the making of the scrambled eggs. There's a lot of schools of thought where this is concerned. Even the prestigious Culinary Institute of America says that a serving of scrambled eggs is 2 eggs per person and a tablespoon of milk for each 2 eggs. Whereas Alton Brown, who is the host of the Good Eats program, and comes from a scientific background more than a culinary background, recommends as much as a tablespoon of milk for each egg. I'm not really going to do it either way. I'm going to kind of do it somewhere in the middle. But it's easy to see that there's a little bit of a difference of opinion on how this is done. While we're doing that, I want to get our pan started heating and put a little cooking oil down. I always recommend starting with a hot pan because it reduces the chance of whatever dish you're cooking being overdone, because it's not kind of sort of cooking as your pan heats up. But let's get to it. Another thing that master cooks, or whatever you want to call them, do is you don't crack your egg on the side of the bowl. What you do is you crack your egg on a clean counter or perhaps a small plate, which reduces the opportunity that you'll get shell fragments in the eggs. I'm going to go ahead and use 3 eggs. Excuse me just a minute. It's like I've said before, if you can't stand messy hands, you can't cook, because if you cook, your hands are going to get messy. So we have our 3 eggs. Now, one of the difference of opinions is, like I say, is how much milk you put in your eggs. Generally, what I do is I use a tablespoon of milk for each egg. I personally prefer a richer scrambled egg. And that's one of the key differences involved in how much milk you use in this process. That's 3 tablespoons right there. And then once you have the milk in, you want to whisk your eggs together. And I'm trying to let you see a little bit here. You can pretty much tell when it's done, because the milk and the eggs and everything, it'll all kind of blend together and be a uniform color, among other things. Another trick you might keep in mind is if, for whatever reason, you don't have access to a whisk, you could also use a clean dinner fork to do the same thing. Okay, our eggs are just about thoroughly mixed. So what we're going to do is we're going to add them here to our pan. And this is one of those things where I try to not stop stirring. And it's kind of hard to see from this angle, but if you're familiar at all with scrambled eggs, you know that the lumps or curds will start to form fairly quickly. And I actually want to turn up the heat just a little bit. Another point to keep in mind at this stage of the process is that the more you stir and the longer you stir, the smaller those curds will be. And that's not really a crucial thing. It comes down to how you prefer your eggs. Some people just like the curds to be a little smaller, some people like them to be a little bigger, but it helps to keep in mind that the amount and duration of your stirring is what controls the size of those curds. And so we already basically have these eggs are already basically ready. Now, this is just scrambled eggs by themselves. One of the advantages to knowing how to cook scrambled eggs is they are not only a finished dish, but they are a base for a lot of other things. A lot of people like to add cheese to their scrambled eggs, ham cubes, bacon bits, things of that nature. They even can serve as a base for more complicated dishes, such as my signature dish, beef shaved steak and eggs. When you add ingredients to your eggs, what you want to do is wait till they're almost finished. Take the pan off the heat, add your ingredients, then add your pan back to the heat. The important idea to remember here is that eggs, like all other proteins, do not finish cooking when you take them off the heat. They continue cooking for another 2 to 3 minutes afterward. So what you want to do is get it off the heat, get your ingredients in, get it back on the heat. That way, if you're adding cheese or something, within that 2 to 3 minutes, because then your eggs don't finish the cooking process and end up overdone. That's a start with the idea of cooking scrambled eggs. Like I said a few minutes ago, once you master scrambling eggs, it gives you a base to move on to a lot of other things. But this is a start.